Well, we about got that part right there figured out. If we don't get nothing else right, that went pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting that smooth. So hopefully no one's coming in mid conversation now.
I hope. I try to hit pause for a few seconds and just kind of wait.
Yeah.
Guys, if I look rough and sound rough and yawn and nearly fall asleep, it's probably because I'm tired. It's been a long past couple of days here at the shack, trying to get caught up on stuff and get orders out and get machines back going. But I do want to report that I now have a working functional S1 once again. Uh, the board swap went relatively smooth. There was a couple of hiccups, which you'll see in the video. And there's some little guy somewhere in China with a glue gun in his hand that I would love to have words with. But other than that, it went pretty well.
Yeah.
Uh, so back working with the S1 now.
Well, good to have it back and available to you when you need it. So yeah, I put mine through a little bit of work yesterday. Actually, cranking out on the screen printer a little bit.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw that.
I I was actually testing out someone else's logo. They have a really detailed logo that I was like, I don't know that it's going to work well. So I thought I'd give it a shot, and I think I got to break their logo up into a few different parts so that the finer details I can run hotter than the broader ones. And so I actually ended up burning through part of that screen, and it was a
I
screen that
told you.
I know it's a screen that I had about four different things in it, and one of them was my logo that I was doing oh can coolers on, and
Yeah.
so I mean it's going to be junked once I take it out of the frame because I won't be able to tighten it again good enough. So I thought, well, I've got the box, I got these. I figured I'd run through a batch of these. So I've got about a little over 20 of these. I'll probably end up bringing them down with me when we
Cool.
head down to your place and we'll see. But yeah, so I just threw up a YouTube short on it, just kind of the quick process. Because I'd kind of gone over those before, but it worked out pretty well. It was kind of good to figure out, just the right amount of ink and amount of pressure, how quickly you could kind of swap through them. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool. Well, let me get roll call started here. See who all showed up today. See if all the usual suspects are with us or not. I see Jack, Chris, Vince. So far, so good. Everybody. Mark's back. Miss Sharon's here. And Midnight Sunworks says hello from Illinois. I think I've seen that name before, so maybe a return customer. That's good. We like it when people actually come back. If you just
yeah.
watch once and leave, that's not great. Uh, Sharon Sharon has a question. We'll pin that, and I'll just run through these, and we'll come back to that in a second. Uh, duh, duh, duh.
Well, I'm pretty sure you already answered that.
Oh, did I? Oh, well, yeah, I see where you answered that. Yeah, that was Steve. He was impersonating
No,
because I
there's
was a little
there's no
late getting
identity
here.
theft there. No, it wasn't. It wasn't anything.
Oh, let's see here. Oh, a little bit of Ventari impersonation going on there.
Yeah.
But Mark, how are you? AGT Restore, James Richards, Ozark, Alabama. They got a few helicopters flying around down there. Aldrich Custom Crafts, Chuck Forbes, hello from Sarasota, Florida. We do have a lot of people from Florida. I don't know what the whatever.
Correlation.
I don't know what the connection. Yeah, I don't know what the connection is, but it seems we're pretty popular in Florida.
There's quite a few pins on the map in the Florida area, right? A lot of them in Central Florida.
Yeah.
So
Uh, yeah. So far, so good. Aldrich. I just got to make sure that I got the queen. I still haven't seen her, and if I don't have the queen, I've got to make sure I give them enough resources that they can make one the next couple of weeks. Let's see. Hello from Michigan. How are
Mark, I
you?
wasn't impersonating him as a law enforcement officer. I was impersonating him as a social media YouTuber.
Want to be. What's up, Dave? Dave says we're getting fancy. Steve did that. That was Steve. I don't know if y'all can tell it or not, but Steve actually made the intro, which he done a pretty good job of it, I thought. Uh,
Well, once we got rid of the YouTube strikes on the first round.
yeah, yeah. It was a bit rocky in the beginning, but we've worked most of the bugs out. Uh, I'm not even. I don't even know what Jack's talking about there, but it sounds like somebody's got some allergies or something. I'm not sure. Uh, Up north has got a question. Says he found a Shapeco 3XL on Marketplace for $800.
Hmm.
Uh, Says it works great. Is it worth it? Uh,
I mean, you
it depends.
know, yeah, it depends. Uh, as a starter CNC, uh, as long as it actually is working great, um, yeah, that's a pretty good deal. I mean, you'd want to see what actually comes with it. Make sure that it actually comes with the, like a router and such for that price. You'd want to look through maybe the wheels and the belts, make sure they don't look like they're worn down or stretched out too much. Um, and I don't remember the Shape Poco 3 what it comes with as far as a spoil board, but if that's really beaten up, you might have to replace that. But that's still probably about a $1,500 base unit. Um,
Yeah, I think Carbide still sells those. Give me a second while you're talking, and I'll look it up.
so, but I mean, ideally, if you can demonstrate it, and that's an interesting thing on Facebook Marketplace with these, because I've sold a couple of CNC machines, a couple of lasers, and normally I strangers, I don't necessarily want them just like coming over to my shop and seeing everything I have in there. But I also kind of like to make sure they see it working and maybe give them a quick tutorial on it. So um, if you can see it running, at least see it operational, that's definitely going to be a key part. So
Yeah, apparently Carbide's not selling them new anymore. The four is the older one that they have listed on their website. So as far as like comparing it to what a new one would cost you, you know, you just got to use your own judgment on that. Like you said, I would make sure everything works on it and it's not beat up real bad. I do know some folks that have the Shapeco, the three, and wasn't a bad machine. It's definitely if you were looking at getting into it, and that was going to be your first machine for that price. As long as everything works, I think it'd be a good
yeah,
investment.
we followed up. You said it comes with router, some bits, spoil board, everything to run it. So I mean, especially if they're going to throw in any sort of software for it too, that's I would say if it's in decent shape, yeah, that's a pretty good price. I mean, $800, that's only a couple $100 more than the Jamitsu 4040,
Yeah.
and you're getting about a hundred, uh, about a meter by meter machine there, give or take. So it's right around that, isn't it?
I can't see the specs on it, but it looks like it's gonna be like a 36 by 36, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. The
So
X, the XX is it. They like I said, I'm not as familiar with those because they weren't like being advertised for sale.
well, come on, you're the Shape Oko guy.
I don't know them all. I know this one pretty well.
I
Uh,
had I have a friend who had one. Unfortunately, he had a garage fire, and
yeah,
now he has a 150 Elite that's nicer than mine.
yeah. Well, my
See how
buddy
that
Tip,
works?
yeah, I think Tip had one, but he had upgraded to the four. But like I said, that was the two concerns that I've heard is going to be the belts and the wheels. Do require maintenance and cleaning and periodic replacement and stuff like that. You're probably not going to be able to run quite the speeds and feeds as you could with something with ball screws and linear rails, but it's probably going to be better than what it would be with the 4040 if I were guessing.
So
So
ordinary woodworkers saying that the Shape Oko 3 XL is 16 by 32. It must be the
okay,
XXL that was the
yeah, the
32
X
by 32.
XL's a little bit of 32. Yeah, I just found it.
Yeah,
I just found an
yeah.
illustration that shows the three. The standard is 16 by 16, and the XL is like I said 16 by 32, and then the XXL is 32 by 32. But that would definitely for that price point, if it comes with some bits and you know all that, it would definitely be worth looking into. But because if
Yep.
you don't get that, then you're looking at buying one of the like one of the other 4040s or something like that. It's still not going to be quite that 32 inches wide. Uh, Even the 6050 is not that wide. It's only like 24. And as
Yeah,
far as the
getting
software goes, Carbide Motion and Carbide Create should work with it, and they don't charge for that. You just got to have their machine to hook to it.
Yeah, and that's a nice size. A lot of people will do things that are wide, like signs, but they don't necessarily need it, square wide. It's kind of how I've said that with lasers. I don't want the super wide in both directions. I want it wide left to right, but deep depth I only need 16 to 20 inches. So
Well, I haven't used the back 4 foot of my machine so far, but I do have some jobs in mind that will require it. And
mhm.
for the price difference on a new machine, I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and give up 2 more foot of floor space to have that capability later on down the road.
Mhm.
But but yeah, I haven't used probably a quarter of my work area. I did put a 2x4 sheet of plywood on there the other day, so I used the width, but I haven't used the complete 4x4 yet. But I have plans to when I get caught up, if I ever get caught up. Da, 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 da.
Jeremy's looking at a CO2, likes the X tool ecosystem. Looking at the P2 F1 combo, is P2 worth it versus industrial sized for the money? Which kind of dovetails into what we were just talking about. A lot of the time, you're going to be getting by with, smaller working area, and so the X tool is the P2 is like 24 by, what was it, 15 point something? It's not quite, I don't think it's quite 16, but, um, and you'll be able to do a lot with that. There is always that time when you want the larger size. Um, but if you can't, two couple things to look at here is, the Xtool P2, like you mentioned, it's in their ecosystem. If you're happy with that, that's great. Some people don't like that it's really, you have to use creative space to maximize the effectiveness of the laser. Whereas, you get into, your Thunders, and others, you're going to be able to use Lightburn. Uh, but it's also kind of an all-in-one unit. It kind of works, you know, generally just it works. Everything's paired together. Whereas the others, uh, depending on how you buy it, they might send you a bucket with a water pump as your chiller. They might send you a small
Been
aquarium
there.
pump
Hey,
as your
I've
air
been there to
assist.
where you just get the little water pump and you have to
So
provide your own bucket.
yeah, and so you start adding on other items and it does add up over time. And plus they do take up a lot of space. And so I've got you can kind of barely see it back here, my red and black eBay laser that I've had for about 8 years now. And I honestly haven't been using it a lot the past couple of years. Between the diodes and the smaller benchtop CO2s, I've been able to do any of the work that I've been looking to do, sometimes with a little creativity. And granted, for larger stuff, I do have my CNC machines as well. But um, you got to really decide if how often you think you'll need that bigger size. Um, you are going to pay a bit of a premium for the X tool as well. It's not the cheapest laser out there, um,
Mm-mm.
but I don't think it's a bad laser. That just has some caveats to it. Um, Now the F1 paired with it, especially if you're wanting to play around with um, metal engraving a little bit. You want to have something portable to take to events and such. That F1 is a really cool laser, and it's actually pretty quick at doing things. I've been playing around with a couple of other Galvo style lasers, and I'm actually kind of surprised how slow some of them feel at times compared to the F1 and maybe the com marker. So you know there are some minor differences between similar type lasers. And I've been really happy with mine. I've taken it to a few shows. I take it out with me to sometimes even just smaller get-togethers and such to do things with. But again, it's a little pricey for what it is. But you're kind of paying for the ecosystem. You're paying for that 2-in-1 with that full shroud. There's a lot of benefits to it. So I never really want to tell someone you should get this. I like to try to give you, my opinions of where it's good and maybe where it might have some areas that it's going to um, fall behind in a little bit. So that's my advice on it. If that sounds like it might work for you, great. But I'd hate to tell you, yes, go out and buy it, and then it's not. So, take a look at that information from myself, Clack, and others, and uh, and see what you think.
Yeah. Well, to me, the P2 kind of fits in the genre of, small work area. You're not trying to do like sure enough, like batching out just constant production, but you want to be able to create some pretty cool stuff, and you want to have tools to make it easier so you're not having to burn through materials like the camera with the close focus and all that. So for that, yes. Now you can, for the price of a P2, can you get a commercial machine that has a bigger work area, works on light burn and all that? Yes, you can. But you're going to have to dedicate, a 6 foot by 4 foot area to park it. So you just got to figure out what fits for you, what works for you. If you've got a 3,000 square foot shop and plenty of floor space, and you think you want something bigger, then it might not be the right machine for you. But if you're working out of a 2 car garage and you got limited space, and you just want to get a CO2 for acrylic, some small stuff for wood and stuff like that, I think it's a good fit. And like you said, there's a lot of stuff on the back end with their software and their downloadable files and stuff like that that could be considered an advantage for some people. you know, I'm not as big into that part of it because I like to make my own files, but there are situations where it's like, okay, let me just download this file and see what it looks like. So that's all things have to be considered. And everybody's situation is unique. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the machine's no good or whatever, because no good for me might actually be good for somebody else and vice versa. So just, you know, don't let anybody tell you, oh, this is the laser to end all lasers, because none of them check all the boxes. They all
Right.
have good and bad. And I've got a spider web on my camera. Hang on. So, but
Um,
but you just have to figure out what's important. Make a list of what's important to you and a list of what's not important to you, and then just go by based on that.
yeah.
So
Yep.
Tim's asking about fiber lasers, which I don't have a whole lot of experience with those. Unfortunately, Marker is the only company that I've had any dealings with, and so far it's working great. Anytime I use a fiber, which I can do some stuff with the F1, but if it's anything with any size to it, to be honest with you, I'll just, because I've got my Marker built to a rolling cart, and I've got
Hmm.
it over there behind the stairs or behind the steps. I'll just roll it over here and use the Marker if it's anything big or that's going to need to go really deep or something like that. But that's the only one that I've got any experience with. I think, Steve, you've recently got some experience with some other brands, but I don't think
Uh,
they've dethroned the Marker yet, have they?
no, I haven't. I haven't gotten anything that's anything over 20 watt, and definitely not into like a. I would love to step up into like a 60 watt MOPA. That would be,
Mm,
I think, kind of the sweet spot for the next upgrade.
yeah,
Because I keep watching, Patrick over at Light Source Engraving and all of the depth maps he's been doing, and I'm just like, oh man, I got to save my pennies, because even though I don't, my problem is right now it would be a toy for me, and then maybe hopefully at some point I could
yeah.
sell something from it. Um, but he's having a lot of fun with that, and so if you're interested in fiber lasers, definitely check out his channel. He was going to go live today, but he said he wasn't feeling well, and so maybe he'll be on tomorrow. So hopefully he gets over that. But yeah, the com marker's been decent. I was actually running it today. One of our viewers, Jim, had reached out to me. He's interested in one. He's been doing a lot with some of these thicker anodized aluminum cards, and kind of before he drop that kind of coin on it, he was wondering, could I run some samples for him? And so he sent up some materials for me and some of his normal things, and I ran them through today while I was doing a few other things, which was so I kind of help him out a little bit on that. So so we'll see how that goes for him. And yeah, it works pretty well. But it's that 20 watt is really kind of just at the, you're still in kind of that marking mode. You're going to
Yeah.
get a little bit of
You
depth,
just got your toe in the water a little bit.
but yeah, it's and then they get kind of expensive from there. So I hope to get more experience and be able to speak better to them, as time goes on. But they're not as cheap.
Yeah, and they don't show up at your door as often.
Yeah.
Joseph said he just got his first CNC. Did his first cuts on his new 150 Elite Foreman, and he loves it. So, whew. Sorry guys, it's just
Awesome.
yeah. Steve talks really highly about his, and like I said, I got to see some of them in action over in Georgia. It looks like a really awesome machine. Matter of fact, Onefinity actually commented on one of my videos the other day. I
saw
sent it to
that.
you, didn't I?
I saw
And
that.
and I told him, I mean, I'm not against trying out a Onefinity, but quite frankly, right now I don't have room for another 4 foot by 4 foot machine. I don't have a room for another 36 by 36 machine. So, but I told them that there would be a day when I build my new shop. I'm not against having the Shapeco and the Onefinity side by side. We could have some drag racing videos or something like that. But, at the time of my purchase, I went with the Shapeco, and I'm not throwing rocks at Onefinity by no means. It was more of a decision based on the fact that you can see Steve's got a Onefinity behind him, and I've got something different, and we can talk about all kinds of different machines and experiences from it.
Yeah,
I may even let Steve play with it when he comes down on the 20th.
Ignore the little X Tool 10 watt on there. A friend's coming over to grab that from me, and so I was getting things down, and then I had to move it off my workbench.
I thought maybe you had done some kind of upgrades or something to it. I saw something sitting over there.
No, it's just gonna be letting the original diode go. I've had that thing for over 2 years now, and so it just doesn't get any use. So I have someone who's gonna put some use on it.
Well, Joseph, we appreciate it, and like I said, we do have a viewer map, and we don't always talk CNCs, we don't always talk lasers. More or less, you guys decide what the show's about. Because if you don't ask questions, we just talk about the weather and weird foods and stuff. If you do ask questions, then we try to answer them best we can within our knowledge and ability to do so.
Oh, is this my chance to go talk about the weather?
Well, no, I mean, you can if you want.
Oh, okay, just hold on then.
What's he? He's going to come back with a snow cone, I bet you. Okay, hang on. The suspense is killing me here. Okay, we didn't plan for this, so I don't know what he's doing.
It's finally snowing in Minnesota.
Oh, that is terrible.
Hey, I did it in like 10 seconds, okay? A little shaking here.
Hey, no wonder you use computers to make stuff. But
I'm gonna go toss this out by my shop now.
Yeah, you might want to, or because Frosty there ain't gonna stay frosty long. Oh my goodness. All right, Brad, this is a really good question. Me and Steve have had this debate for the past few days. We don't know. We got an email that was kind of a puzzle, or I guess a kind of a code or something that what was it? It was going to be 12 days, and they would ship it, and shipping it could take up to 14 days or something.
Well, I think they said something like they were going to ship it on, I don't know, pick a day, like the 12th, and then tracking would show up in 10 days, but it would take 2 to 3 days to arrive.
Which means we get our tracking 10 days after the package had arrived, which is useless.
Yeah,
so we really don't know.
Which is passed. So
yeah, we really don't know. May or may not be coming. We were told that it was, and generally speaking, from my experience, Adam Stack generally follows through. Now the A24, we both had an issue with that too. It was like we're going to send it out to you, and then we thought they forgot about us, and then 3 months later, boom, they show up. So eventually they'll probably be here. Uh, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a little frustrating because we try to balance out our content and not just be doing review. But and so you try to when something comes up, if I've been review heavy, I'll turn them down. But if it sounds interesting, sounds like something people want to learn about, and the timing's right, we say yes. Well, then when things get backed
Yeah.
up, it starts piling on, and you're like, okay, this is not fun.
Yeah,
You know,
because what's really terrible is when you, like over a period of 3 or 4 months, you'll have like 8 or 10 companies go, "Hey, would you like to try this out?" And I'm like, sure. And then you hear nothing, and then like 1 week you get 10 shipping notifications, and you come home and there's like boxes everywhere. And like you said, now you've got to put out like 5 or 6 review videos in order to get those out in decent time. And you know the viewers are going, seriously, guys, what is this? QVC.
yeah, yeah,
So we try to avoid that. I've turned down like 5 different review opportunities in the past 2 weeks because one, some of the stuff just I don't know what they were thinking because like when you get those like bathroom plungers or automatic toilet scent dispensers and just random things. But a couple of the others are lasers, but it's ideas that I just don't think are going to work that well. Uh, there's that the spider, whatever they call it, the spider, the fold it up and put it in your pocket laser or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, they keep sending me emails, and it just does not look stable, and I can't bring myself to do it. So, but if anybody's interested in that, then maybe. But I just don't see where that's going to be a sturdy platform for a laser. I've had some 3-legged machines before and did not like them.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, Pop
uh,
Pop's got quite the collection there.
yeah.
The F1P2 and the B460. That sounds perfect. Like if I could upgrade my com marker to that machine, that would uh, that would be a nice trifecta. So
Oh yeah. Maybe there's a module swap for that. That would be nice.
yeah. Um, Daniel's asking. Speaking of the Atom Stack A24, I was wondering, do we think it's got a small enough spot size for engraving, or would you move down to a lower output laser? And this is that's a I guess it depends on what you're doing and you know just how detailed you really think you need to be. So this is a little sneak preview, but I've been playing around with scratch acrylic on my 40-watt X tool, and this is an engraving it did from a photo. Trying to get it to focus on that.
Of a very strange looking dude.
Yeah, I mean, my budget for hiring models is really low, so but this is pretty good. This is about a 4-inch square piece, and the quality on that is decent. Is it perfect? No. So you could if you're going for that real photorealistic, yeah, you're going to want to get down into like a single diode 5-6 watt uh, a unit, and that's going to be your best resolution both vertically and horizontally because they're generally going to be fairly square. But a lot of times you can get the higher power, have the cutting ability, and this is good enough. So um, the A24 actually had a pretty fine point though,
Yeah.
and I was
Uh,
pretty happy with it.
it is definitely. I do a pretty good bit of images and stuff like that. Have over the years. Uh, and whether I did them with a 10 watt or a 20 watt, I've never had anybody bring one back to me and go, "Oh man, this just isn't quite clear enough. Maybe we could do this on a 10 watt." Chances are, the people who you're selling them to, and even me, I've done engraves with a 10 watt and then a 30 watt. Use the same image, process it exactly the same way, and I've even got a video on that. And it's very, very minimal how much you can tell. Uh, a lot of times, to be honest with you, folks, I find that folks want things to to look like they were burned with a laser and not printed with a printer. So it just depends on the results. I do photo stuff with 40 watts, and just like you said, just now with that one, that's a 40 watt, and the X tool 40 watt. It does have a small dot size, in my opinion, for a 40 watt. I was actually surprised with it. But any of the diodes, I think, will do acceptable uh, engraves. Now, you can always get a switchable model if you want. Just like with the X40 here, it's switchable between, was it 40 and, don't make me lie, I've never switched it.
Yeah, it's 24 and 40
Yeah, 24 and
something.
48. I never switch them. It's like the
Yeah.
eco mode in my F-150. I bought an F-150. Okay, I don't want eco mode. I want to be pulling things, and I want it. It's got a 5 liter V8 in it. I want a 5 liter V8, not a 4 cylinder. So I've never put my F-150 in eco mode. Nor have I taken my lasers and turned them down to 10 or 20 watts when they do more than that.
Well,
If you're
and a
doing
lot of
maybe like what's on tile or something, maybe you could tell the difference. But wood,
well, and a lot of the newer lasers are getting their spot compression down smaller again. You're seeing the power go up, but the spot size not continue to grow as much. So I think on the newer models you're getting a better spot compression than say the original laser tree 20 watt and maybe the original X tool 20 watt modules and things like that. So
yeah. Pop said that the Thunder's in the future for him because the P2 is not wide enough.
yeah,
Well, I mean, that's that's something you have to consider. Like I said, you may need to go get you something that's got like a 36-inch wide work area with a pass through. So
or have a good friend nearby that has a very large laser. That's a good way to do it too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've flirted with trying to mount me a laser module on the CNC, but I can't do it. I'm just like, I'll take one of these other machines and go get some extrusions and make myself a 4 foot by 4 foot before I do that.
Sure. So Viking Wind's asking, what does nest selection do for me in Lightburn? When they're talking about nesting, that is usually like a tool or a macro that's going to take all your parts and fit them in a certain area. So if you tell them your working area is 12 by 12 and you select all your parts and tell it to nest them, it's going to do its best job to fit them all in that working area. Now, some of them will have, do you need certain distance between parts? Do you need certain grain orientation to lock them in place? That's more along the lines of the CNC software. But its primary job is to try to take all the parts you've got and fit them into your working space as best you can. It's not always going to put the part pieces in the best spot based on some of those criteria, but it's a tool that can save you some material and save you some time of manually doing it.
Yeah. Ordinary woodworkers, he's been eyeing the Adam Stack 70, was just wondering if it was worth it. And like I said, I would love to tell you that I'd be finding out pretty soon, but don't know. Hadn't heard back lately. And Russ says that you were spot on about your assessment of the F1. Said it does great on metal dog tags and slate coasters. It does a really good job. I was a little impressed with because when they said it was 12 watts, I'm like, why can't we put a 20 watt in it? But it's really not bad. I mean, especially for the small work area, because you're not going to be doing anything too big on it,
Yeah.
unless it's just you're sitting on the corner of a cutting board or something, burning a logo.
Well, and that's a nice thing is it's got the bottom piece that pops out. So
Yeah.
you can literally set it on something and lower the focus to do that. So,
Hmm.
but, and Brian's a liar. He said that he wasn't going to make it tonight, but apparently he is.
Well,
Good
hello,
to see you,
Brian.
Brian.
How are you, sir? Yay. Glad you made it. Oh, me. Yeah, Chris, I'm kind of the same way when it comes to getting them, trying to go get a bunch of fiber lasers right now. Between the CNC and the lasers that I already have, yeah, I don't have time to do a lot of the stuff that I would like to do already. So I'm kind of in the same boat with you right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And my day job is trying to pile more on me too. So
Yeah.
yay
Oh,
for me.
look. Look who's here. Hey, Cody.
Mhm.
I just placed another order today, bro.
Uh-oh.
I'm trying to get the whole collection. You
Did you
know
order the
why
bit?
he.
You order the
You,
bit I don't have?
I don't know. I ordered all of them that I thought I was going to need, except I didn't get any more V bits, but I got
Oh, okay.
basically the rest of them.
Nice.
Uh, but yeah, I was sitting there, and you know why he pushes out these speeds and feeds for different machines, right? So that when you open that spreadsheet and look, you're like, wait a minute, I don't have that one. So that's what happened to me. He I went to put the speeds and feeds in carbide motion, and I pulled it up, and I realized I don't have hardly any of these bits. So now, and I'll try to get this where I can show you. My screen share is messed up, but it will actually show my top screen. So we'll do it this way. Uh, so now I have made myself a what Genie bit do I not have spreadsheet. The ones in yellow I have, the ones in gray I just ordered, and the ones that aren't highlighted are still to be ordered. So there you go. That's my Genie bit wish list right there. So
Well, get
so
on it.
yeah. Well, I'm going to get the whole set, and then I'm going to make a holder for them. So I'm going to be a little upset if I'm going to probably leave some room in case there's additional bits added to the set.
I was actually going through some of my wood back there looking for some smaller blanks for doing a few milling jobs on the CNC. Well, I've got a few projects I need to do and a few videos I have in mind with it. So I need to get the 150 cleared off again and get a
Let's
couple
fix
of those
this.
processed down. So
So you may want to move that laser before you fire it up.
there's a little space. I'll put a blanket on it, keep it nice and toasty and dust free. So here's one for you.
There's a whole bunch of videos, Dennis. Like, oh, just go to my channel and type in the keyword jig, and don't get wrapped around the axle if it's not with the same machine. The only thing about the longer array, I don't know which one you got. Some of them have limit switches and some of them don't. The only big difference is going to be if it doesn't have a home, you're you're going to have to either push the machine back into a corner or set it to run current position and set your files out that way. That's the only big difference. I know some of the longer arrays did come with limits and some of them did not. But you just gotta. It's all about laying that file out and running absolute coordinates instead of current position. That way, you always start from the same location, and it keeps the software and the machine be on the same page. Because if you don't have the machine and the software on the same page, you're not going to be able to put stuff back in the same spot time after time. Uh, I used one with my D1 or my stock D1 for the longest with no limit switches. You don't have to have limit switches, but you do have to have either a physical way of pushing the machine to the back left corner or front left corner or whatever, or you have to have the ability to home it. And the accuracy of the jig is going to be strictly dependent on your ability to start from the same location every time. So, but just go to my channel and search the word jig, and you'll get the idea because I got plenty of videos on that.
And the other part of that is once you have kind of the base, like the key part locked in your home point, then yeah, you make your blanks and you can create a fixture for anything you need. If you need a 5 3/4 inch round something to hold something, you make a new piece, you cut that in, and now you know exactly where it's going to be. And I know Clack's got a few kind of pre-made ones for certain things out there, rotaries and such. But yeah, you can kind of use it as a base to build all your own fixtures for your own custom stuff too. So
Yeah. Bonnie said we could talk about chicken livers again.
you can talk all you want.
Hey, I sent him a picture the other day. I went to the restaurant to make sure they were going to have some chicken livers April the 20th,
Yeah.
and I sent him a picture of them, and he didn't seem impressed.
Yeah, I sent you a picture back too, and I
Chris,
got no response, so I didn't even know what you thought of it.
I don't remember what it was. It was a busy day that day. Chris said to put that get on that CNC and make a proper snowman because you failed. You failed at the actual snowman.
Well, I mean, if you want me to take more time, it's getting a little dark. I could. It's the perfect snow for it because the temperature outside is like right around freezing, so it's really slushy and whatnot. But yeah, hope. They've been talking up the storm. Most of it's kind of going north of us. We're getting a little warmer on the south end of Minnesota, so I think we're going to be lucky in the fact that it's not going to stick down here too much. But
Have we addressed this one?
I don't think so.
There's not many that's going to go quite 36 inches. Close, but unless you
Yeah.
get into the commercial machines.
Well, what's that? Sculpt Fun has that massive.
Yeah, the S30 Ultra something. Yeah, I think that one may be.
It might be.
Niji has one too. Doesn't Niji have
It's
an
no.
extension?
I don't know. I think the Niji tops out like it's like 33, 34 maybe.
Well,
I
I
think
know.
that the stock one, maybe. I mean, with a little bit of creativity, you can extend a lot of these, especially those, the Niji, the Sculpt Fun, the Atom Stack that have pretty
Standard
standard
extrusion.
extrusion. It'd be a lot easier than X Tool or some of these others. But
Yeah, you can get really close to that with the X40 Max, like what I'm running over here.
it's
I mean,
close.
it's not 36, but it's really close.
No.
My material's 37, but that's just so that I don't have to cut right up to the edge of the material. But now, other than going into a commercial CO2 or something, or just DIY in one, like you said, get yourself a Niji and DIY that thing. Because once you change the extrusions out, all you really got to do is the extrusions, the belts, a little bit of wire and harness, and set the controller up.
Yeah.
And I've been tempted to do that, but I just haven't had time. V
Uh,
says she has the Sculpt Fun S30 with extension. Got to get her extension put together.
yeah. Yeah, that is a big footprint for that laser, but that's one of the few I've seen that would fit it. So, but yeah, it's a big enclosure. It's basically put a box over your CNC table there, and you got it.
Yeah, yeah. Old guy design said he finally made it. Welcome, welcome. Glad you could stop by, hang out with us. We're just listening to Steve cry about snow.
Hey, we need the moisture. I'm okay with this because you know what? It's March. It's warm. It's going to melt.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cry too much.
Let's see what else we got.
Well, okay, you got. I think we all wish every person with a workshop, even the people that have ridiculously large ones, will say they wish they had a larger shop. So I hear you, and I feel very blessed to be able to have the space I have out here. But yeah, you gotta be creative and try to maximize your space in your workflow. So, and who
Yeah,
knows, maybe someday.
Yeah, Michael said he agrees with me on the customers like the look
Yeah,
of authentic engraved wood, and some do, because if they're asking for laser engraved, they kind of want to be able to tell it was laser engraved. But
yeah.
you still want good clarity. You don't want their family members looking like cousin Ed or anything.
Well, maybe if they are cousin it, but yeah, and even on just typical engravings, just vector stuff, some people want them really deep and dark, and others don't want that to be, they want it more, flush with the surface and not too deep. So it's interesting what one customer wants, the other one's like, no, that's the total opposite. So
Yeah, Daniel, the A24 is similar, but it's not the same, and I think the work area is slightly smaller.
yeah.
But the A24 is not a bad machine for the money. I'm actually planning on in the next couple of months before our Peach Jam event gets here, and possibly even before the thing up at Maymay's, because I haven't decided if I'm gonna take a laser or not. I don't know that I'm going to be doing a lot of engraving up there, but as sure as I don't take something with me, Maymay's people are going to kill me. Uh, so I may have to wind up taking my setup with me up there. But I've got the A24. I'm going to be putting it on my display table that I use. This got the power, the battery backups, and all that. And I've actually already gave my X-Tool D1 20 watt to a buddy of mine, is a retired veteran that had a laser, but it was an older one and a lot less powerful, and he wanted to upgrade, so I donated it to him. So at this point, I'm committed. I've got to put the A24 on the portable shack to be able to engrave with it. I will probably take and bring the F1 along as well for those little small metal dog tags and stuff like that, because it, instead of having to use a jig with that little guy right there, I can just knock them right out. So that's what I'm looking at doing for the upcoming season. I don't do as many events as I have in the past, but I'm going to now.
Yeah, they're a bit of work.
Acrylic, I've actually got a video of using it to control lasers. It's basically the same process to do CNC software, if you have, as long as you have hotkeys in whatever program you're using. But yes, I don't use mine as much, but I actually can. I've got a page on my Stream Deck that basically is macros for light burn, so that if I'm doing, a job or whatever, and I just want to reach over here and hit the frame and stop or whatever, I can. There you go. I'll let you have this one there, Mr. LA Awesome.
Uh, yeah, I don't have it out here, but I use a couple different things. I use LA Awesome. It's kind of a degreaser cleaner that you can get at almost anywhere, including like the dollar store sells it. So that works really well. Just kind of spray it down, let it sit for a few minutes, and then you can usually spray it off. If it's really gunked up, you might have to do a little bit of scrubbing. And then I use a soft bristle brush, or you can get some of those straw cleaner type things if you got to get down in there. But if you keep up on it, just kind of spraying it down with that. Or Dawn Power Wash is another good one that'll kind of, especially their sprayer, kind of atomizes the stuff and makes it foam up and stick really well. You don't really need to use anything too heavy. Push come to shove, I've gotten out the pressure washer to really hose it down, at least in the summer, not so much in the winter. But generally, if I keep up on it, usually just spraying that down, let it sit for about, I don't know, even just 5 minutes, and then rinse it off. 90% of the gunk comes off.
Yeah, I just use the cheapest oven cleaner they make. I haven't tried any of the LA Awesome yet. I do plan on trying some of it because Steve talks so highly of it. But
Well,
right now,
and,
I'm just using the lemon scented oven
you,
cleaner from Dollar General.
yeah, you gotta be a little careful with certain chemicals on them because it'll eat some of the aluminum if it's got like the edging around the sides and such. So just be careful with highly caustic cleaners and such. They could do you some disservice on them.
Well, AGT, appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just hey, it's a conclusion of a busy day, and like I said, I'm just thankful to be here once again. Another Sunday in the books. We've been doing this for we're going on a year and a half now,
Hmm.
well over a year. So you know, before you know it, it'll be 2 years. But we might not have much for content, but we got good consistency.
That's how I feel lately. I just haven't been able to. I haven't been able to get the time in out here to do everything I want. So, but we'll keep doing these.
Yeah, I haven't tried any of this stuff. I've got some of it, but it just seems kind of gimmicky. I haven't really tried any of it.
Yeah, I haven't played with it either.
So we don't know we don't know. Viking, we don't know what to tell you.
I mean, so yeah, I mean there's some of that. There's the stuff that you kind of wet down and you put on glass and such. I don't know. That's one thing that I have played with once or twice, but I found that applying that was a little more finicky than just hitting it with, some Cermark or even, some few shots of tempera paint with a heat gun to dry it. So mm.
Uh, Dennis, you have the home version. Click on go on move. You're probably going to want to look at getting light burn if you don't have light burn to be able to do really good jobs with jigs and creating jigs and stuff. But uh, but yeah, I don't know. I guess you're saying you got the one that will home. But if you don't have it, look at getting light burn for sure. Which if you're using my files, you should have light burn. So I'm not sure. Somebody's asking you a question there, Steve.
Sure. So Barrington Hardwood is a fellow on Amazon. They have some good deals on exotic wood. Yeah, I'm not familiar with them, but always good to find new sources. I've used Ooch out of Wisconsin, and they have a lot. And then years ago, before I found a few others, I've done Woodworkers Source, but they're out of Arizona and maybe Texas. They tend to be a little bit higher, but their quality was really nice. But most of the domestic stuff, I've got some good friends around here with sawmills that I can get a good deal on.
Brent's wanting to know what's the best setting for cutting and engraving leatherette hat patches, and the simple answer is test, because that
Ah,
stuff, I every piece of it I ever try is different.
yeah, I mean the colors, the colors even vary, because you have reds, blues, grays, browns, blacks, and then either and then alternating colors underneath. Um, I can see if I can find any of my files, but there again, it's going to vary on your
Yeah,
laser. Back what I was doing them was playing around with both CO2 and then a 10-watt diode.
yeah,
I actually need to do a few more, so I'll be running some tests on both 20 and 40 watt here in the near future. So, but
yeah. I tell you, the little patch that came with, I guess it came with the F1, the one that X Tool sent, the black and silver or whatever.
yep.
It's a sticky back 3M adhesive patch. That thing burned nice. I actually took it. I've got a little backpack that I use when I go to places to carry like phone chargers and stuff in, and it looked so good I didn't want to throw it away, so I actually stuck it to the back of that backpack, and it looks pretty cool because it's a black backpack. Now I got the chrome engraved patch on the back of it, so it turned out really nice.
I
But I
was
just
just
used their default settings.
Yeah, I was just grabbing this. Great Carve is the place that had sent me the scratch acrylic that I showed earlier, and they send these cards with them, which have some cut
Cool.
and engraving tests, which are nice. And they do also have what they're calling scratched leather, which is basically leatherette. But I don't think they included any settings with it. So I've got a few sheets, and this is felt back. It's not the sticky back stuff. So like this is a bunch of black and silver. Um, so yeah, I'll be doing some testing on both that and some real leatherette that I've got here in the near future. And so I try
Yeah.
to try to stay tuned there. I'll try to share that either in a full video or a short something or other.
Yeah. Robert, if you're talking to me, I did another video on engraving the screens, but it was during the period that my S1 was out of commission. So I actually engraved the screens on the MK2, and Brandy has not yet done her projects that she picked up to do. But we're going to both be off several days this coming up week, trying to get some stuff done here around the house. Matter of fact, Brandy's been sanding rocking chairs and staining rocking chairs and pressure washing the house, and like she's been working, so she's probably asleep by now. But we always in spring break. That's when we have to like shape everything up from being neglected all winter. And so she's. I bought last year. I bought her the new. She doesn't want like a commercial like sure enough pressure washer. She likes the electric ones because it's easy for her to wheel around the house and use. But I bought her the DeWalt 2400 psi electric, which is the largest high pressure electric you can buy before you have to go to gas. And so she was wearing that thing out past couple of days, and apparently it works pretty good according to her. I told her she's going to do an Amazon review on it because I haven't used it. She has. She, but I bought it for her last year because the one that she had, it was just a little cheap Walmart one, and it went bad. So, but this one, she says she likes it a lot better. It's a little heavier, but she's managing.
I might have to check that out because a very small electric pressure washer that is basically high volume garden hose.
Yeah. Well, this one's
It w-
2,400 psi, I think, is what it's rated at. But it's
yeah.
it does a good job for just general household stuff.
So mine's great for cleaning a honeycomb because you don't want too high of a pressure and bend those fins. But if you want to clean concrete or siding, you got to put it on the thin nozzle thing, and then you're making
You
these
can only
little
do like a
lines.
half inch strip.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we put some of that purple power or purple magic or whatever in that
Hmm.
thing, and she went to town with it. And it did a good job. But yeah, V, that 48 by 48, that's a big enclosure for a laser for sure. Somebody was asking, and I'm trying to find the question because I really, really want to put this one up. We'll get to it. I'll find it in a minute.
I think I know which one it might be, and you're gonna tease me then.
Uh, but somebody's asking who is May May. May May is a friend of mine who is a YouTuber. Well, she's YouTube, Facebook. Basically, she has social media accounts and she does paper crafting. And she lives near here, and me and her are friends. And she's kind of like helped me over the years, getting everything going with the channel and all that. Just kind of talking me into it when I first started, and I was I really wasn't taking it serious or whatever. But she has her open house coming up April the 20th here in town, and Steve's going to be driving down from up in the snowy Great North up there, and we're gonna hopefully both of us are gonna be at May May's open house, which means that May May will be there, me and Steve will be there. So it's kind of like three in one. And that same day, they're also having a meet and greet. Some of our farming channels and stuff from around here having a meet and greet just north of us. So there's going to be a lot of folks that have social media accounts in town for that weekend. So Jenny, see, I told you if I didn't take them, or Johnny, we've had this discussion. So I got to take all the fun toys to Maymay's. But yeah,
Um, I found one of my files from doing the leather files for the hat, but I'm not 100% sure which laser this was at this point. So it's probably not the very helpful, but I was running the engraving at 7,500 millimeters a minute and 27% power, and the cut at 600 millimeters a minute and 80% power. That was either a 10 or maybe a 20-watt laser. So
yeah,
unfortunately, I can't. I'm not
that's not
100%
that's
sure
not
when
all
it's.
that helpful, Steve.
So I know. I thought
But
I
you
had a
tried.
note in
You
here. I thought
tried.
I had a note in here as to which one, but I was like, oh shoot, that's not there. So
Yeah, Daniel, there will be. I plan on doing a little quick video because it's been a while since anybody saw the setup other than the local folks. So it'll there'll be a video of the updates and what it looks like afterwards. And I'm probably going to try to figure out how to use the CNC to make some accents for it and do some customization to it. But well, that's just depends on how much time I've got. If I'm not just throwing stuff together. Uh,
ah, got mine in.
you wanna answer that one? Because we're both going to answer it the same way.
Uh, yeah. So it depending on what you're burning, you can get soot on the nozzle of your laser really quickly. It also is going to depend on the airflow that's in your enclosure or going through the laser. So this is why I always, even when engraving, I always have some air going. If you can adjust it, maybe you want to dial it back some, but usually I'll try to set up my test engraves to where full air is still where I'm using my engravings because that helps keep a lot of that soot and debris away from the lens. but then it can still get on the cone. And if you're seeing a lot of that, if your module itself looks like it's getting really dusty on the intake fan as well, that's a good sign that you're not pulling enough air through your enclosure. And so you're going to want to see how you can improve that. And that might be making sure you got proper inlet into it if you have a custom enclosure, or maybe making sure that the hose and the fan that it's pulling it out is as smooth and short, no, not a lot of extra bends, that it's running as efficient as possible. But in some material, it's just inevitable. You gotta stop. You gotta clean it, and it's best to do it before you burn out your cover lens or something worse. So, yeah, it can be all over the place.
Yeah. Sam, I think they've about answered your question in the comments over there, but ABS is it's a lot like if you're going to have something in a car, especially in the summertime, ABS is better for that because it's not as susceptible to heat. And like Jack said, it's a little stronger, like impact resistant. So if you're making certain parts and certain things, but on the same note, from my experience, ABS is a little harder to print with too, because you got to have enclosed, you've got to have the temperatures just right to keep it from sticking too much or not enough. And so ABS is a little more finicky, but for some projects, ABS is kind of the way to go for making sure that it lasts in its, whatever its use is.
Is that the one you were looking for?
Yes, that's the one I was looking for. Robert, surprised you asked this question, but I use a 12,000 BTU. I think it's called a 1 ton, technically. Mini split that I put in last year, uh, and it does a pretty good job. What are you using, Steve? Hashtag Steve needs a mini split. Yeah, that's high
Y'all
tech right
feeling
there.
you feeling warm?
That's high tech right there.
Uh, that's what I use to augment when I'm I'm feeling a little chilled or whatnot. But I have I insulated this place fairly well, so it doesn't take a whole lot to keep it kind of warm. I have a oil filled electric radiator that actually keeps the temperatures pretty decent most of the winter. Um, Not the most efficient thing, but without poking holes or spending a lot of money, it's been doing okay. My biggest issue comes in the summer. It doesn't get necessarily so warm because there's actually some good shade trees that keeps a lot of the sun off here, but it gets humid, and so I really need to take the humidity out of here. So I am looking at a mini split as well because it'll heat, it'll dehumidify, and it'll add some cooling when I need to. And that's generally what works well. If you need both, if you just need some air conditioning and a little dehumidification, and if you happen to have a normal style window, not a sliding one, but you can get a just a window AC unit would do pretty well. I don't really recommend the portable units because they're very inefficient and they end up sucking a lot of the cool air out with them anyway as they're venting it out, or they create just as much heat as they cool. So yeah, mini splits seem to be kind of the way to go for the most people that can that have the electrical space for it and can get it installed. So
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day why I didn't have a window unit. Why did I go with a mini split? So it was simple. I don't have any windows.
yeah, and I don't know why when I built this I did the side sliding window instead of the up and down. I forget what those are called,
Yeah,
but which you can't. It they make a few window air units for those, but yeah, it's just they're loud, and then I'd have to have that hanging out there, and I don't want to cut a big square hole in the wall and only
yeah,
have AC, so I might as well just cut a small pipe hole through and get the mini split going. So
yeah,
hopefully this spring I'll be getting that sorted out, but we'll see. I said that last
yeah.
year.
Well, hello, STL Woodworking. For those of y'all that don't know him, he has a channel, and I got to meet him face to face over in Atlanta at the event that Steve's hopefully going to again this next year. Steve didn't get to make it over there with me this past year, but we will hopefully both be going again in the coming year. I think have you already got your tickets, or did you decide to wait?
I committed.
Okay,
I
so
took the
we're going.
I took the savings and said, okay, I'm going to do this,
So we
and
will
then
be there.
worked through a curveball at me. So hopefully that's settled down by then. But yeah,
Yeah, but he's also like I said, he does CNC work mostly. I think he has some laser stuff I've seen on his channel, but mostly CNC stuff. Yeah, he's already got his tickets too. See,
see, you're
I
yeah,
started to, but Uncle Sam, dude, I was waiting on Uncle Sam. See how bad he got me, and he got me
yeah.
good.
No,
So now I got to
I
wait.
hear you. I hear you. I
Uh,
had I had I I had kids get too old, and I forgot to adjust my withholdings, and so I got hit doubly hard this year.
mm, I was doing pretty good, and then all of a sudden I wasn't.
Here's a interesting question. How long have we been doing the laser part of our endeavors? They're new to this and liking it, but haven't sold anything yet. How long did it take you to start making income from your laser engraving and cutting?
Mm, well, there was a couple of months there that I didn't even attempt to do anything for anybody else. I started, was it October of 2022, I think? Or was it 2021? Whenever the X Tool D1 first came out, because I bought one of the, like, not the, I didn't like get it release date, but like a month or two after they came out is when I got mine. You had just got yours, like, because I saw a couple of your videos where you had got yours, and I bought mine. So it's been a couple of months or a couple of years. I mean,
Well,
but but you've had your laser, like you started out with CO2 years ago.
yeah, yeah. So mine, and going even further back, I mean, I got my first CNC router, uh, gosh, like 10 or so years ago, maybe even longer. And that stemmed more from some work I was doing in my RC hobby. I uh, was involved in with a national magazine as well as some of the manufacturers for model airplane stuff, and so it became a tool that I needed to work on developing these parts rather than having to send them off. So it kind of paid for itself, not in selling things to people, but in me being able to work on these items and not pay shipping and not wait and speed things up there. And then I actually turned that into a business selling some of my own items through that. Um, so I took a little more non-conventional route into it because now I use these for more traditional woodworking, crafting, making. Kind of, I mean, I still do the model airplane stuff, but I just do a little bit of everything with them now. Um, and but you know, it's some people will tell you, here's how you can pay off your laser in 90 days. And those are probably that's information to get some ideas from, but don't feel bad if it doesn't work for you, because I've done things where in the Onefinity group the past few years, every Halloween it comes up, these LED lanterns made out of cedar picket fences, and there are people who will sell them like hotcakes, and there are others who won't be able to give them away. And they're using the same files, they're using Jenny bits to cut them, they're getting their boards from practically the same chain of stores. It's just the market, and that's what it kind of comes down to, is finding where your market is, and if it's local, finding out what that local market is. And for some places they'll pay a lot for something and others they won't. So that's where kind of got to do a little bit of research on the area you're wanting to get into and what's selling. But I would think if you're getting out there on some Facebook groups, maybe hitting up some local craft fairs and such, you should be able to get something sold within your first 3 to 6 months. But
Yeah,
learn your machine first. um, do things for friends, do things for family. That'll help build your portfolio. that'll help you build your confidence. Never take a job on something you've never done before without a caveat of, hey, I'm going to learn on this. I might lose money, but be confident in what you're selling, and that you can do it. I've seen a lot of people, you'll see them in groups. They're like, hey, I need, how do I work with this material, or what's my feed rate, or where can I even get this material? I've got an order for 30 of them. I'm like, how do you have an order for something you've never done? You don't know
That
where to
means,
source the stuff. You've never worked the stuff. So,
yeah, if you've got an order of 30, that means you better buy 31
or
and
more.
go ahead and sacrifice one.
Yeah.
But yeah, with mine, I think I got mine, like I said, around October, and I was Christmas. By the time Christmas was over, like the day after Christmas, I had paid off my X Tool D1. So it was like 2.5, 3 months, I think. But see, I had bought the laser just basically to put my logo on things, and then I realized I could make other stuff with it, and I started putting pictures of that on my Facebook page. And it was right around Christmas, and people were like, "Oh, can you make me Christmas ornaments? Can you make me a picture of, my father who passed last year? I want to give it to my mom for Christmas." And so I started doing portraits on cedar, and it just escalated really, really quick, because I won't ever forget when Brandy found out I'd spent $800 on a laser. She was like, "You spent $800 on a what?" I said, "A laser." She said, what does that even do?" And I was like, so I kind of was under pressure to make my money back. But I did wind up a couple of big tumbler orders and a few projects. And I think I did one, maybe a job for May May. And next thing I know, I got my money back. So now I didn't make anything for my time, but I had paid for the machine. So
Mhm.
that's always my goal when I was starting out. Because when I started doing woodworking, I was doing it basically for tools. Like I would build somebody something, and then they would pay me, and I'd stick it in a box or something, and save my money until I got enough to where I could either go to the pawn shop, go to marketplace, or if I was really lucky, go to Home Depot or Lowe's and pick up another tool. But I was the pawn shop tool guru for a while there, because I got buddies that run pawn shops, and I'd go through there and I'd be like, "Hey, how long has this saw been here? Are we discounting it yet?" And they'd be like, "Well, what do you give me?" And so that's where I got a lot of my tools that I've got. My joiner over here, I got it there. My chop saw come off marketplace. I mean, I was the king of shopping for deals.
Yeah.
Uh, and then eventually it got to where there were things that I just could not find, and of course you have to go to Home Depot or Lowe's or Amazon to pick them up.
Yeah. And I want to clarify that what I was saying is that you should be able to start making, not you're not making a profit, but you're starting to make some money back,
Yeah,
from your investment. It's the people who I worry about, that expect, I bought this, I need to pay it off in a month before the credit card bill is due. It's like, you
yeah, I
know
wouldn't take that
that's tough.
gamble.
Yeah, I wouldn't take that gamble. You know, so lot of good suggestions here in the comments, and doing a lot of stuff for family and friends, maybe coworkers and such, just to get people seeing your stuff, see what you do. Think of that as
Yeah.
your tuition. You're paying
Well,
to learn and get. It's your advertising budget as well. You got to give a few things away for people to start noticing you.
Well, I'm going to tell anybody that gets a laser, just know there's going to be family freebies that you're going to have to beat through before you can actually sell stuff. Because every family member you've got is going to be like, "Hey, how about make me one of these? Hey, how about make me one of those?" Probably the first 2 or 3 weeks, that's where I learned what not to do, was trying to make things for my family, because they were all like, "Oh, I heard you got a laser. Can you do this?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know, and I can try." And so there's going to be a lot of family freebies, but those are good because they help you learn. You make mistakes, and your family is a little more forgiving if you do make a mistake. Uh, yeah, STL, feel free, man. If I happen to be in one of your chats, I'll probably comment too. So if you want to, I would say you could drop a link, but I don't think we've got that turned on because people drop some really uh, annoying links sometimes. So we may have to just have folks go look you up. STL wood is it STL Woodworking, I think, is actually the name of the channel too. Of course it is, because that's how he's commenting. Samuel, if you I think it was Sam. One of them said they would be coming through Clanton. If you're ever in this area, now keep in mind, guys, I work a day job, and my day job's not always one that I can break loose and go anywhere, whatever. But if you know you're coming through and you want to message me on my Facebook page and let me know, I'm not against maybe meeting you at the interstate and having some lunch because I'm going to eat lunch promptly at 11 o'clock if I can help it. But so if you ever are in the area, you can message me. I can't make you a guarantee that I'll be available because my day job does not necessarily it's not always flexible, but we can try. I'm not against it. So because I think a couple of people say they were coming through Clanton in the next little while. And during the week, that's where I'm going to be is in Clanton most of the time. And Valerie knows May May and Vinny. She said she's been watching May May for years. And yeah, May May's had a YouTube channel for like 7 or 8 years. She's at like 400,000 subscribers. So like she's a sure enough YouTube celebrity, I guess you could say. Maybe one day. But
Now,
Kyle's asking about the S1.
Oh, go for it.
Kyle, I had catastrophic failure during a firmware update. Not sure what the problem was. Not sure if it wasn't just a coincidence that the board went out during a firmware update. But I was updating, I was using the machine, it was working fine, and it had popped up that there was a firmware update before I started using it. And I'm like, no, I ain't got time right now. Let me get this job done. Well, when I got through with the job and I was fixing to start shutting everything down and putting up my tools and stuff, I hit the button to go ahead and update the firmware before I pushed the machine back over to the other side of the shop over there. And like as soon as I hit update firmware, I heard a click inside the machine, like something moved, and then the light just started flashing purple, and that was the end of it. Myself and X Tool both, because they treat me basically like they treat everybody else. When I couldn't figure out what the problem was, they're like, "Hey, can you let us remote into it and let us look at it?" And even though I had looked at everything they were looking at, they went into it, looked at it for a couple of hours, tried different updates, tried manually forcing the update through XCS and developer mode and all these things. And finally, they said, okay, yeah, it probably just needs a new board. We're going to send you one out. But the whole process wasn't terrible. Like I said, it was probably, I pushed them back 2 or 3 days because they kept calling me or messaging me wanting to remote into the computer on nights that I had jobs that I had to get done. So I pushed that back like 3 days. But then finally, after they checked it out, they decided that they'd ship me a board. They shipped me the board. It came with no instructions. I couldn't find anything on their website about how to go about doing it. So I did what every red-blooded redneck would do. And I just grabbed my screwdriver and went to work. But it was a success. I've got it back going. It's working as well as it ever has. So I'm happy about that. But yeah, that's what happened to the S1. I don't know what the cause was. I thought maybe it was a heat issue, but I looked at the board. I didn't see anything that was exploded. Didn't see where the smoke got out of anything. It does have a heating sink on the back of the board, but it was clean. And so I don't know. Don't know what happened. Just a fluke, I guess.
Sharon's asking about the lenses that I sell. She got them for X-Tool D1, wondering if they work with the MK2. Now, I forget, did you take a look at yours to see if it fits on there?
Pretty sure I did. I'm pretty sure it was the same, but I'm not. No.
I don't have one.
Yeah, I haven't. Hang on, let me look. Oh, see what STL said he's trying to drop a link, but it's not letting him. Are you trying to put one to your page, STL? If you are, we can knock that out for you. But yeah, I've got links turned off because of those robots and spammers that'll plague your channel if you're not careful. I know this thing came with a spare. I remember seeing it the other day, and I'm thinking it was the same.
So, I mean, what I tell people when I don't have one to compare myself, and I've also noticed there are some laser manufacturers that have switched sizes mid production stream. So I always caution that. what you want to do is you want to measure there's the brass end cap off the end of the laser. You want to take that off and try to measure the inside diameter of that cap. If it's right around 14 millimeters, then my lenses should fit because they are just a touch smaller than that. And then the O-rings hold them in place. There are a number of lasers now that have some smaller ones. Like Ortur is one, and Sculpt Fun is another where they use a smaller one that's closer to like 10, and they won't fit in there. And then there's been a few that are actually bigger, closer to 15, 16, and then I don't know that they would work very well. So that's one way to know for sure is just to take that end cap off and try to measure the inside diameter of that brass end cap. If it's right around 14 millimeters, you should be good.
I want to say it was, but don't quote me on that. I'm wanting to say that me and you discussed that.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and look at my video. I did a video where I cleaned it, and I'd have to go back and look at that and see. STL, message me to my Facebook page with that link, and I'll drop it for you. Yeah, STL, just type that and message the Clack Shack on Facebook with that information, and I'll drop it for you. Because if I can't turn comments links on without terminating the stream. Me and Steve are the only ones that can drop links currently. And I think y'all got the date on the WBC straightened out. There should be a link to Cody's. Is it still in the? I think it's still in the description. To Cody's bits because we talk about them so much. I think I left the link in there.
I'm gonna try not to break it. There we go.
I think they patched that because the last 2 or 3 times I've commented, it hasn't messed up my chat.
I hope so. And I'll drop it over in my chat so it goes straight to my YouTube people anyway. But yeah, Cadence Manufacturing Design, home of the Jenny bit for CNCs. Excellent bits. I've been using them for a few years and very happy with them. So, and Cody was on a couple weeks ago. So if you didn't catch that one, you want to go back and watch it. We had a good conversation with him about using or how he built up his business, starting out kind of just like, one of us working out of his garage doing some customization, but then wanting to have more specific bits to the hobbyist CNC person with bits that are going to be better suited for maybe a non-commercial machine on up to commercial machines. So definitely worth checking out. What are the advantages of my lenses? They're inexpensive.
I can answer that. Instead of $30 a piece, you get like 8 of them for $20-something. That's the biggest advantage.
And to be fair, they're not even really lenses. They're effectively a dust cover for your lens, and so it's on the end of the diode laser, and its sole purpose is to allow the laser beam to pass through it, and smoke and debris to not come up and damage your actual focus lens. So this is a consumable. It will eventually, over time wear out. I mean, you can get a lot of life out of them if if all your factors are right, you're keeping it clean, you're keeping your air moving away from it. I know some people have run on one lens for a year plus, but then all it takes is a little bit of water or a speck of dust or some smoke to get in there, and the laser beam will then interact with that on the glass and it will etch it or crack it. So there's nothing special about my lenses as far as, some people, talk about, special coatings and mineral glass and whatnot. And those are a higher quality glass, but as you clean them, those coatings wear off. And, again, this is a consumable. So these are pretty much just clear glass. They're sized for your average diode laser. Originally started, selling them to a lot of X-Tool users, but have found that most diode manufacturers are using the same brass end cap. And so the key here is clean them with as pure of alcohol as you can. Don't use something that's going to leave, there's some glass cleaners that'll leave a slight film on them. You want to clean them with clear as pure alcohol. Make sure that's nice and clean, and make sure you don't get your greasy fingers on it, and then try to keep the air moving across it. So, but I do sell them off my Etsy shop. I sell them in a pack of 8 for right around $24-25 plus a little bit of shipping, and Etsy does the whole tax thing and whatnot. But generally, they're under $30 shipped. I try to get them out the same day or next, depending on if I'm around and before the mailman, and get them out. Otherwise, they go out the next day. Just try to keep it an inexpensive consumable for people.
Yeah. And what I do is I buy the glass from Steve, and I have extra lenses. And so, like, this is one of Steve's pieces of glass, but I have recycled the brass nut from a lens that got cracked. And so I just basically, when I have chance, I sit down and I rebuild these if I have to go through which I haven't had to replace one now in about 4 or 5 months. I had a little episode, me and my air compressor did not get along, and it got water in it, and it was spitting on my lenses, causing them to crack. And it took me 3 lenses to realize I had a problem, because I thought they were just, I'd been running them for a couple of years. It's about time for it to be changed. I put a new one in there. It was in there 2 days and popped again. And then I changed it out again. And it was in there like an hour and popped. And I'm like, wait a minute, something's not right. But yeah, I keep spares. It's not a bad idea to keep some spare lenses around. Like I said, some of these are rebuilt lenses that have Steve's glass in them. Others are factory lenses, but most of the time I just put one of Steve's lenses on there because, like he said, it's kind of like. I mean, does it really matter? It's a piece of glass. As long as the laser goes through it, that's all that really matters. Laser goes through it, dust doesn't come up inside the module. You're good. And at $24 for 8, as opposed to $30 for one, it's a no-brainer for me. But but that's about it on that part. Steve, the map. You have not mentioned the map.
Well, I hinted at the map, but yeah, we do have down in the description of each of our videos on at least both YouTube and Facebook, you should be able to see links to both the Laser Engraver community map as well as a form you can fill out to get your pin added to that map. And so it just asks for your name to be displayed and a location. And you don't even need to put a name if you don't want. You don't need to use a specific address. You can use your business address. You can use your city, state. You can use a landmark near it. As long as Google Maps will recognize it. There's a few people that have put in things that are too generic, and so it kind of kicks it back and says, I don't know where this is. So try to be as specific as you can, but we're not asking to find everybody's home address or anything. We're just trying to see where in general our users are. And we have over 400 people who've already put their pins on there, and we'd love to keep growing that. We've hit all of the U.S. states already, and we're getting through most of the Canadian provinces, and a good chunk of we seem to be spreading from the UK into more of Germany and such. So we got Norway, Sweden,
Cool.
and such on there. We even have someone from South Africa, of course, our friends in Australia, New Zealand, and such. So it's just kind of a fun thing so that people can put their name out there. And maybe you'll find that you're near a couple people that are in the community and you want to connect. Or if we're doing an event somewhere, we're going to an event, and like Clack went to Workbench Con and tried to put a call out to see if we could do a meetup. We'll try to use that and just say, hey, we see there's a number of people in this area. We're going to be in that area for something. Maybe we'll do a meetup. So hit that up. I do have to manually update the map. So if your pin doesn't appear right away, don't worry. It's still in there. Yeah, it's been kind of fun to see that grow over the past few months, and hoping to continue to get more of those pins worldwide on here.
Yes, it is definitely something cool to look at. So, well, it's an hour and 30 minutes in, and guys, y'all letting the content die. Next thing you know, we're gonna be talking about weather, what kind of weird stuff we're gonna eat or something.
I'm gonna have to
So
make another snowman, huh?
yeah, well, maybe this time we can like do a little better job.
Hey, I
But
mean, I didn't think you
but
wanted
yeah,
me to be out there for 5 minutes, so
no, it was a little awkward pause there for a minute because I didn't know what you're going to come back with. But I will say this: hopefully, I just got through. What did I do with it? Okay, I just got through tackling this guy. So the video on this, I've got everything put together. I've got to let it process and upload it. But if you've ever wanted to know what the inside of a X-Tool S1 looked like when you took the board out of it, uh, this is what it looks like. And it went pretty well. Like I said, other than that one guy at that X-Tool factory that runs the glue gun, me and him gonna have words because there was no sense in what he did.
it,
But yeah.
it's probably the
Oh,
same
you'll
guy
see.
that was working at the K40 factory.
It looked like the same guy, different glue, same guy.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it was bad. It had me want to say some not so nice words. Uh, but uh, but I didn't. But yeah, it was actually wasn't a terrible job. Like I said, it turned out it worked. I got it machine back going, so I'm good now. Let's see what else we got. Let me check these comments over here. Uh, there you go.
Uh,
That's you, Mr. Cad.
make a connector to empty one so free football and ideas I can find threads to model. Well, I mean, you might. Well, it depends. You might be able to find if they're a common thread, like 2 liter bottles, all kind of a similar thread. You probably be able to just find someone on either printables or Thingiverse or something like that, who someone's already modeled it, and
Yeah.
no sense in recreating the wheel if someone else has put it out there for free. So I would check there first. Um, Otherwise, modeling threads can be fun.
Yeah.
There's some plugin. It depends on what software you're using. Some of them will have it because it comes down to a diameter and thread pitch, but then also a thread spacing whole deal. Um, I don't remember if Fusion. I think doesn't
Fusion
Fusion have
makes
something for that?
yeah, it's got a
Yeah,
thread tool where you can extrude threads, but you have to like put the pitch and all that in there, and so you'd have to know what the pitch and everything would be. But
yeah.
it is capable. But now there's some stuff, like I said on Thingiverse, there's probably some STL files that you can go in and kind of modify them and just like maybe take and piece it together. But that's something I haven't done.
Yeah. Hopefully someone else has done it for
Yeah.
you. Darren's asking, have you had any problem with static electricity interfering with your laser? I haven't noticed it being an issue with my laser. However, with the dust extraction on a CNC router, if that isn't properly grounded, you can actually build up a fair amount of static there. And then depending on your controller, it can actually cause the machine to either just stop because it gets confused or lose steps and go off in a weird direction. So um, that's something that can be an issue on certain machines, and then you need to ground it. But I've never had an issue with that on a laser. Now I would be concerned about brownouts, where you might have a voltage drop or a voltage spike. That's not very friendly to any sort of electronics. Um, but I don't know. Usually the most time I notice static is when I'm petting my cats and I shock their ears or their nose. So it's
Other than the
it's
winter
winter and
time, we don't
dry up
have a.
here. What can I
I
say?
was going to say in the winter times we have a little bit of problem with that, but during the summer down here it's too humid to have static electricity much.
Yeah. Well, let's see here. I got 30% humidity in here right now.
Yeah, Jeremy mentioned VCarve has a add-on for threads. Yeah, it's got a thread
Yeah,
making tool too. I haven't ventured off into
yeah,
that either.
yeah. It and that's the thing is that you're kind of going to get into more of CAD than per se, the 3D printing. Um, you're going to have a CAD tool that can import into that. So
Yeah.
VCarve, Fusion, or a couple that are going to do it for you.
Yep. All right. Y'all better come up with something. We finna bring up chicken livers again.
Please, no.
And I gotta
There
go
was
get some
one.
sleep. Man, I am tired today. It's my wife's working me too hard lately, guys. I don't know that I can retire. If I retire, she gonna work me to death.
Hmm.
Which I say that she did a pretty good bit today herself. So I don't know that I could hang with her. She she pressure washed the whole house in the past 2 days, and it's not a tiny house either. So
It's yeah. I mean, that's a bit of work. So
all right, y'all gotta make us get out of here early because I can't just sit here and nothing to talk about.
I was trying to find. Oh, the chat doesn't go back far enough.
Yeah. Pop. I run battery backups on everything in this shop. There's a battery built into that table where the CNC's running. I got one here, one down there. The only machines currently that I don't have on a battery backup is the MK2, just because there's no good place to put a battery over there. Well, the MK2 and the F1 aren't on a battery, but my bigger machines that I use for like the majority of my stuff are. If the power goes out, my computer and my laser will continue to go for a while. Well, not indefinitely, but for a while, long enough that those little flashes don't get me.
This is TrueTech's got a good point. McMaster Car, they have a huge. I mean, if you're ever looking for a fastener or random part, they a switch, all these other things, they likely have it, and they do have 3D files of a lot of their components that you can import right into CAD. So, if you're looking at things or modeling something that has a variety of screws or fasteners, you might want to look there and be able to import those into your drawing to help you out. So,
Yeah.
so here's kind of a generic thing about the direction of laser products, um, and looking at are they limiting the open and frame lasers? I think we've seen that a lot where the one of the themes of this year is enclosed lasers around safety. I feel like everybody's coming out with their own or trying to copy something similar. Putting enclosures that kind of bolt around their existing frames and such. So, um, and it's good to see that. Of course, that can also be a limiting factor. The open frame design does give you some advantages to portability and flexibility on larger items versus having an enclosed laser. But safety is always very important as these become, more and more mainstream. People are looking at them as something to inexpensive to get into and play with. There are some real dangers to using them, both to you as a person, both from light radiation as well as fumes and such to fire hazards and other stuff. So um, it's good to see some of the safety minded design. Some of them, you know, I see a lot of people jumping into like X Tools fire suppression system. I I don't know if I'd go that far because I think it's a small CO2 cartridge that isn't necessarily. I'd question if it's really going to put out a fire in some of these larger enclosures, as well as it can add to complacency a little bit. If you're monitoring it and you have, your own, levels, we've talked about it before, have a little spritz bottle for the minor flare ups and then have a, more substantial fire extinguisher for things that get out of hand and such. Um, 99% of your things will be able to be handled by either you blowing it out or just spritzing it with some water, or even just grabbing the piece and pulling it out of the machine, you know. Um, but overall, it is nice to see a little more safety built into some of these. Because not everybody thinks about needing an enclosure when they buy the open frame, and then not everybody really has the tools, the time, or the desire or the ability to build a custom one. So um, I think that's definitely a direction. It's interesting to see. You know, we talked about the A70 earlier. There's definitely some higher wattage lasers coming out, but we're also seeing them kind of work on the compression spot size of these higher wattage lasers. So I think that's something else we'll continue to see. But I don't know. Outside of that, well, it'll be interesting to see where this year goes. They've been leapfrogging themselves the past 2 years further than I think we thought they'd get. So
Well, I think I called it last year because I said they'd have a 50 watt out by the end of the year. Everybody was like, "No way," and they come out with a 48 watt right before the end of the year. I was like, "Well, I was close." Uh, yeah, Jeremy, I'm gonna be honest with you. If it's hanging from cables, there's a really good chance if you're engraving really fast that it's gonna start rocking. It's gonna start swinging like somebody on a swing set. I don't. Depending on how heavy, whatever it is that your structure, your substructure below it is, the heavier it is, the less it'll rock. But there is the risk of rocking. So uh, now, if you put some fold out legs on it, so that you could, like, if you used let's say you use one of those tables that has folding legs, maybe then if you unfolded the legs and let it set on the legs, maybe it wouldn't. But yeah, if it's suspended from cables, I suspect the S1 slings that module around pretty good. My little cart that I did have would actually rock because it wasn't a very sturdy cart. I've got a more robust cart now that doesn't rock. But so I would think definitely if it's hanging from cables, it's going to start swaying.
yeah, and once it starts swaying, I mean that that S1 is not a light machine, especially
Yeah,
if you've got the riser base on it. I mean, I've taken it in and out of my basement once or twice, and I really don't want to do it again
yeah,
because it's I've got a tight door that it fits through. I think we only have like a 32-inch door at the back instead of a 36. And yeah, it's just it I can carry it myself, but it's at that point where, you know, one wrong move and you're going to hurt something or drop it. So, you know,
yeah,
it's not as lightweight as the D1. The D1 I can, you know, sling that over my shoulder because it's open frame and carry a few other things with it. But
yeah. Uh, some Dennis said something about the D1 having the emergency stop on the back of the machine. And this is true. Now, I did find out today that it would be relatively easy to move that thing if you wanted to. But but yeah, it's on the side. So is the P2. I don't know what's up with their e-stop placement, but both the
yeah,
P2 and the S1 is on the back right corner. I mean, at
yeah.
least
I
they're
mean,
consistent, I guess.
well, even the F1 is on the back, but that's so small.
Yeah,
It's still accessible, but there's others. If you've got it up against a wall, and even on what the P2, it's recessed.
yeah,
I think the S1 it sticks out a little bit. Yeah, that thing needs to be easily found and easily just slap it and it's done. I mean, I on my other one, I've you know on my big CO2, if I move things wrong, I'll lean into that thing and then I go to turn on my laser and go, why is it not powering up? You
yeah. I
start
did
going through
that.
the checklist. You start going through
I
the
was.
checklist. You go, oh yeah,
Well, you see where the one on my CNC is, right there on the front of the table.
yep,
Yeah, I was actually in the middle of a job the other day and was just gonna lean over and look at something, and I bumped the button. Yeah, ruined. I was like, okay, maybe I might need to make me like a little cover so that I can, kind of block it from getting hit with the belt buckle. But yeah, it wouldn't hurt my feelings if X2 had to put it on the top, like right side on the top over near the edge. But yeah,
yeah.
but that's they don't always ask before they do. So
Well, they are one of the ones that do like the form as well as the function for their machines. So
yeah, be right back.
let's see here. Yeah, Mark, you've got it mounted on a. If you mount anything to 3/4 MDF, that's a pretty good base. That's a pretty dense base. So it it does get a little tricky to move. And yeah, even in my enclosure that's made out of 1/2 inch plywood, I'll take the laser out of there if I got to move that too far because it's just it all starts adding up a little bit in weight there. So hey, Hobo's here. He's got a pretty good comment too. Believe the move to full enclosures is an attempt to preempting government input for safety as more and more people buying lasers, folks that were using hair dryers in the shop. Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't doubt that that's part of it. Um, and you got to be careful too when they start talking about class 1 versus class 4, because even these fully enclosed lasers oftentimes are still class 4 lasers because they are not completely enclosed to where the light cannot escape. So um, I wouldn't be surprised that that's a thing. I mean, if you're in the woodworking, you know that there's some more rumblings about regulations requiring in the U.S. all table saws to have flesh detecting or safety features similar to saw stops. So, there's definitely the entities out that are trying to protect consumers, such as people using hair dryers in the shower.
Most or is he talking about hotkeys or shortcuts?
um, yeah,
Yeah,
well, a little both there. Yeah.
firefighter. You can actually go to Lightburn's website. I think it was is where I found it. If you'll search for shortcuts for Lightburn, there's actually a sheet, and I downloaded it and saved it to my computer so that I would have it in case I ever find one that I need that I don't have. But like when you're node editing, as far as like being able to extend a line, cut a line, insert a line, put a midpoint in, stuff like that, there are actually the shortcuts. A lot of the shortcuts you can go to, was it about or whatever, and it'll show them to you. But there are some like in node editing, there's some little shortcuts there, keyboard shortcuts that you need to use. Uh,
Um,
but but
Let
yeah,
me
cursor can
see.
be kind of hard to see. But if I make my problem is if I make my cursor any bigger, I can't hardly work because it's hard to see.
Nope, that's not the right one.
Woo!
Let me this down here. If I do this, as a matter of fact, if you're looking in Lightburn and in the menus, and you just hold the mouse cursor over the icon, it'll actually bring up the hotkey menu for any of those. So, like here, you see the control, and then SLC for all the node editing. Um, your rectangle here, it'll show you the various hotkeys for that as well. So if you just mouse over each one, um, it will tell you what the hotkeys are for it. So it's fairly helpful that way. It's not there for all of them, as you can see, but if you just kind of pause over each one, it'll give you some good information about them. So hopefully that helps out a little bit. As Clack hides.
Hey, I was trying to give you space, man, where
No,
you can share your
yeah, it
screen.
makes it a little bit
My
easier
screen
too.
capture's still not working. When I hit my bottom screen, it shows my top one. See? Yep. I don't know what's up. I updated my app, and now it's just messed up.
And speaking of Hobo with Wood, I was watching his live stream. Was it yesterday? And maybe he can speak up in chat. I think it is next Saturday live, and I think it's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. He is actually going to have um, the man from Rolly Automation talking on his live stream with him next week, and maybe giving a little insight into what's coming down from
Cool.
their end of the world. So if you're looking for something on, I believe it's next Saturday evening, check out his channel, and you get to hear direct from the man there at Rolly Automation as to, you can ask him some questions, but hopefully find out what's coming down the pike from them. Yeah, 9 p.m. Eastern, and Leo will be there with him. So I'm gonna try to catch that. And
9 p.m. Oh,
hey, it's 8 p.m. for us.
oh, hey, yeah. I guess it would be if it's Eastern because he's an hour. Yeah, 'cause he's up in what, North Carolina or somewhere. But yeah, well, I suspect they're going to be coming out with some different stuff. It's about that time. It is an hour and 50 minutes into it, guys,
Yep.
and it's been a long day. Long day. Chris, I'm pretty sure he's Hobo said it's going to be Leo's going to be in there. So, but yeah, I sent Leo a message the other day after I did a board swap on the MK2, and I told him I made a video, but I didn't know if it was something he'd be interested in releasing. But yeah, he wound up sharing my video over in the Rolly Automation official Facebook page. That's kind of cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
I had shared it,
So
but I took that one down, left his up. But there will now be a X-Tool S1 board swap video, and I hope I'm done swapping boards for a while. I'm just gonna be honest with you. These two hit me like back to back. Like first the S1 went down, so I started using the Lasermatic, and then it went down, and I still ain't figured out what happened to this one. I think the firmware corrupted something because there's no physical signs. You know, normally in these boards you can see where the heat would build up, or
yep.
maybe a capacitor popped or smoked a diode or something. But I don't see anything, and it happened during a firmware update. So I even tried cheating because there was a micro SD card slot in here, so I dumped the firmware update onto the micro SD, and tried seeing if it would load it during the boot cycle, like some of the stuff that I work on at work does. Yeah, it just ignored it. Still stayed purple flashing light. So
Hmm.
had to be replaced. So this one's basically garbage, but I just kept it for show and tell. Because thanks to glue guy, when I went to try to pull this one right here, I felt something crack inside that plug before I realized that somebody had used Type Bond to secure their plugs. I kid you not. Watch the video. I had to cut the stuff off with wire cutters.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, well, I guess we can call it if nobody else has got anything. That'll give us. Hey, we don't get off early very often.
Well, it's not too early, but we are running up on that. But yeah. So you've got your board swap videos out.
It's
Or
not out
coming
yet.
out. Well, you got the
I'll
the
probably
one
have
out.
it. Yeah, the Rolly one I got out the other
Yeah.
day, and then I don't remember what all I did. Oh, I did the bees because the bees are just cool. I know people don't like the bees. A lot of people don't care to watch them, but they're very interesting creatures. And if you really sit down and study them, you'll be amazed. It's amazing that humans rule the planet rather than bees. They're much
Hmm.
smarter than we are. But yeah, bee video and a couple of repair videos is about all I've had time to do lately. I do have a project I'm working on, a CNC project that I'm going to do a fill with. Ooh. I'm going to backfill it with epoxy, but I've just been gathering some footage and getting ready to do the epoxy part. I haven't done that yet. It's the badge that I was attempting before. I finally got all the issues worked out of the file and got a good, nice, large badge made that I got to backfill. Hang on, I'll show you. Yeah, so I got this done,
Nice.
and going from a laser file to a 3D to an engraved file for a CNC can be a little challenging with some of the real fine details in the center.
Mm-hmm.
But between using a smaller bit and just going in and playing with the lines and setting them to different settings and eliminating some of the stuff, I managed to get it to where I think it's going to look pretty good when I get it backfilled with epoxy. So that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna enjoy that. But this was a scrap piece of a stove cover that I had left over. So
Very nice.
I figured what the heck, I'm gonna make me something for the office. It's nice and big. So yeah. The
Yeah,
prototype didn't go as well.
that's on my list. I need to work on some office decor because mine hasn't been changed in a while, and figured it'd be good to put these machines to work. Matter of fact, since we're doing phones out, this is one that I've been working on. This is a CNC V carve on just a scrap piece of red oak, and all I did with this one was to get this back here. Um, I just filled it with just hit it with spray paint and then sanded it back smooth, and that worked out pretty well. You got to be careful with that because you can't get the paint bleeding into the grain. But I want to do another one of these and do like what you're doing is work with some color filled epoxy because we actually use the school colors and such. But I figured that'd be a nice thing to put in my office, along with some other things that are more. I've done some larger airplane things and whatnot, so we'll probably both have some office decor content coming here shortly. Um,
Yeah.
and you got the door hanging sign. Yep. So
Yeah, this is version 2. Version 1 lacked a few things, so I had to fix the file. But this is version 2, and it has gotten Brandy's approval. As you can see, it has the whole 3D rope around the outside edge of it,
very nice.
and painted it with just some. I had some yellow Krylon or Rust-Oleum paint, so I painted it because it is going to be outside on either our back porch or the front porch. I'm not sure whichever she decides to put it on. But I've got to add the little rope. I was going to put some holes in it, but I didn't want to interfere with the rope. So I think what I'm going to do is just take some twine and a couple of small staples and staple it to the back and just make a way to hang it that way. But yeah, and then Brandy will probably add some vegetation or flowers or something to it. You never know what she's going to do. But I'm going to do a video on this file because I actually built this file in VCarve. The only thing that I didn't build, of course, is the little rope around the edge of it. That was one of their included graphics that you could use in VCarve.
Yeah, it's nice that they have a lot of those border options pre-done for you.
Yeah, but version 1 wasn't quite as nice. So these are. I wind up with like version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know how it goes when you start to CAD stuff out. This was the version 1, and it was okay. And I managed to fix it with the bandsaw ever so slightly, best I could. But I had left too much of a border out here, and it just didn't. It just didn't finish out well. This one still looks pretty decent, but for now, that's the finished product, not this one. And of course, this was the prototype for the badge. But you'll notice in the center of the state seal right there, you'll see where my graphics. I had 2 lines that I did not realize were not set properly, and Alabama looked like it was in all caps, bold letters.
Yeah.
So I had to go back and fix that. But this was just like you said, spray paint, run it through the planer just to see what the lines look like. But this is a little smaller version. And then, now that I've got my file corrected, I got that guy. So it's going to be a lot bigger. Which this one, a lot of people are like, oh, that one looks good. But the letters, I know the letters are messed up, and I can't handle that.
So next comes the one carved out of walnut, right?
Now that I've got the file right, I think I could, yeah. Not necessarily walnut. I don't know what I got up at the mill. I know I've probably got some. I know I've got a 20-inch wide or 16-inch wide piece of red oak up there. I've still got that. I've still got that thing set up on the mill. I haven't even finished milling it yet. What's up, Sam? How are you, fella? For those of y'all that don't know, Sam over at Sam Craft. He also has lasers and CNCs, which I think he's moving into the bigger machines here lately. He's done got his Thunder up and running. But he also just built a nice new shop, so he's the envy of every person currently. But Sam, knock the dust off of it, man. Get that thing out and go to using it some. I'm loving mine. I enjoy it. I'll have it going. I'll have, as you've seen in my little short I did, I'll have 2 or 3 lasers going, and I'll still be over here cutting materials or making stuff. But that's to me, that's how I actually make a little bit of money is because I'm doing laser projects, CNC projects, and building stuff all at the same time. And so it's not like I'm just sitting here watching the laser waiting on it to get through. I'm doing other stuff. And so by the time I get done, even though I may not make but $10, $15 off of a project, I just did 6 projects, in an hour. So that's that's how I try to maximize my earnings.
Hmm.
Yeah, Mark, I've got a couple of black walnut slabs up there. I've got one black walnut mantelpiece that I cut, but I don't want to go using it up. That's an expensive piece of material to be CNCing. But I may. We'll see. Steve may come down and talk me into it. He may be like, "Hey, let's grab this big chunk of black walnut and take it down to the shop and make something."
Well, maybe I'll have to bring down some black walnut for you to sacrifice there.
True, y'all do have a lot more of it up there than we do.
Yeah, we do seem to get a lot of it up here.
But anyway, but yeah, y'all go check out Sam if you're into lasers. Apparently, he's not doing any CNCing right now, but he is. He does. I know Sam has the F1 because everybody keeps asking me, why didn't you make jigs for the F1? I was like, well, just go get Sam's. He's already made them. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. But he's got the. I know he's got the P2, the F1, and now he's got that big Thunder machine that I can't afford. That he just got. So in his nice new shop,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
looks
you,
like
you
it's
don't have
empty.
the space for it.
No, no, I don't. I can't. Everybody keeps asking me, when are you going to get a big CO2? When I build another shop, maybe because I mean, unless I take these enclosures out, I don't have any room. And then I'm using the storage area below it for storage. So I can't. I just can't do it.
Yeah,
I can't do it right now. When I
yeah,
get
no,
Clack Shack version 2, maybe I can. Be like
but
Samcraft version 2 over there.
yeah, no, Sam's got a lot of good stuff going on over there. If you want to learn a little more about, he's got, I mean, especially if you're into like the P2, he's got an excellent video on cleaning it and how often things to look for, and along with some alignment stuff. So definitely check him out as well. I know both Clack and I appreciate his videos too. So
Oh yeah, been thinking about trying to get him on this show, where maybe we can have something to talk about.
yeah,
So Sam,
yeah, we'll have,
if you got the time, bro, maybe one night we can have Samcraft night, and you can tell us the story that is Samcraft. Because I'd like to hear the origin story. That'd be cool.
yeah, it'd be fun. So
Uh,
anyway,
he says, "What, Sam? They're asking what size Thunder you have. It's a big one. I think he was shoving whole pieces of plywood through it the other day.
yeah, he was using it like a table saw.
Yeah, because he's like, who needs a table saw when you got a Thunder? Wow. I was like, show off. But I can do that with my CNC.
Yes, you can.
All right, Nova 30.
If you
It's a
go
30 a Nova 3500 watt, 100 watt, 3 digits.
if you go way back on my channel into my more of my RC content, that's back when I had a CNC machine called the Foam Casualty machine, and it was a 3-axis CNC. It was light duty, and that was really meant for carving and cutting foam for model airplanes. But it had a head that would rotate, and on the top side it had a hot wire, and so it literally had a foam slicing mode. And I have a short video on that where it flips the thing over and it lowers it down just along the front edge of the table, heats up the wire, and just slices nice and cleanly through 2-inch thick foam sheets. So it's kind of I mean, it wasn't fast, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, you should bring that thing back out.
I don't have it. No.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, it's been 2 hours and 4 minutes, guys. So if you hadn't already, like I said, we got the Laser Engraver community map. Steve will probably update it after the live is over with tonight. But we
Will do.
currently have all 50 states and a whole lot of, surprisingly, a lot of folks over in the Europe area as well as Australia and some little island countries that I'm really shocked people watch us at. But it's really cool. It's neat to see. I wish there was a way we could display the map in here, but I don't have time to be putting pins in a map. And wall space is a premium here. I did sacrifice just enough to make my little honeycomb wall with my big bee up on top. I did do that, but that's just to kind of go along with my whole bee theme because I like my honeybees. But if you haven't put yourself on a map, go do it. That's cool. And also, Laser Engraver community page. We try to keep the spam out of there so that you guys can have it as kind of a hub for everybody to socialize and get ideas and help and give each other tips and tricks. Uh, I had a couple slip past me last week, but I finally managed to sit down today and go through there and find all the spammers and get rid of them. So I think we're clean for the moment. I think.
Yeah, I try to hit it once a day. Sometimes I get up early and have a little time before I got to get going, that seems to be one of the times they come in, and it's the typical like, oh, I'm giving this away for free, or I'm feeling
Yeah.
generous, so I'll give you a logo. Well, all that is just, you see that in any groups. They're
Yeah.
or PM me for information that on
Yeah. Well,
shipping or whatever.
I guess we're doing a pretty good job getting rid of the posts though, because I started finding them in the comments now, where they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, do you want a logo? Message me,"
Ah,
and I'm like,
yep.
"Gone." But
So yeah,
anyway,
if you're in there and you see those, go ahead and hit report. That tells us pick it up, and we've got a few other people helping us as well. But we try to keep it fun and just informational. So
yes, sir. All right. Well, I appreciate it, guys. Enjoyed it, and y'all come back to see us next Sunday. Maybe if we can talk Sam into it, maybe we can get him to drop in one of the next few Sundays. Sam,
no
we need
pressure,
you
but
to. Yeah, no pressure. You can message me or Steve. Let us know when you want to do it. We'll come up with some cool questions for you. Uh, make sure it's interesting. But anyway, guys, y'all be safe.
we'll see ya.